Okay, so today I wanted to discuss something which to me is kind of fun. I was a psychology major in college before I got into medical school. And so frequently I would see studies done similar to what I'm going to describe here. And so the topic of this video is, does mind exist? There's mind and then there's brain. Um, and are they the same thing or are they different? We think of ourselves as being the mind or our ego or whatever you want to call it. You think of that as yourself, your personality, your person. We don't really associate ourselves with our brain. We think of a brain as just another organ in our body. But the question is it really mind or is mind just a construct? A psychological construct is what people talk about. Consciousness or mind, psychological construct. So, discussing psychology for a bit here. They have done research on mind or consciousness. What they did is they put a person in front of a box with the lights. And they told the person, when you see the light come on, say, I see it, and then push the button. Now, the order that I just described is first, the person is supposed to say, I see it. And the second, the person is supposed to push the button. So when the person is aware of the light, they say, I see it, and then they push the button. Second. The reason I mention the order is that what they actually found when they hooked the person up to an EEG was that the area of the brain that controls the hand um, uh, was moving or firing before the area of the brain that controlled the speech to say, I see it. So since the person is saying, I see it when they become aware of the light, the researchers said that they were aware of the light after they had already initiated the push of the button. What this means to them is that um, the, the person's awareness seems to be nothing more than a commentator on the activity that just happened. In other words, it's just like a microsecond or whatever after, but we're actually kind of watching our hand push the button and commenting on it, in other words, as opposed to, I want you to push the button, hand, so go do it. No, actually, the hand is pushing based on the brain's decision to push the button, and our awareness comes just a little bit later. It's only a microsecond or so, so we don't really notice the difference. But because of this, the question is, should we ever feel guilty about anything we do? Since we've already done the motion before we even are aware of it. So take your gun, kill that other guy, and then, oh, by the way, I just killed the guy. You know, kind of like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but kind of like that. Um, and of course, I have to admit that you're not going to pick up a gun unless you have had some experience with guns. And so your mind has to make the decision whether or not it's going to use guns. So if you don't use guns, you can't pick up a gun and shoot somebody with it. So it's a decision. And mind definitely helps us with decision making. It's just that some actions just are too difficult or too quick. Think about driving your car. Do you really know how much to push the gas pedal to go 40 miles an hour? I don't know. Do you really know how to make a left hand turn? How many turns of the wheel is a left hand turn? You know, do you really know what you're doing there? Probably not. Now, another example of this is the baseball batter. Um, the baseball batter was hooked up to a EMG that tested the muscles of the shoulder and arm. And what they found was that the batter initiates this swing when the ball is only about 10 feet from the pitcher. Now, the pitcher's mound is more than 10 feet away from the batter. So it's only the first few feet that the batter sees when he starts to swing. And the batter can't suddenly change direction of his bat. It's not really not possible when he's swinging so fast. And so basically, he has to make a decision when the ball is in the air where to swing the bat. The problem with that is that most balls are, when they're thrown, curve a little. Whether it's a fastball or a curveball or a sinker or whatever, they all change direction because the lacing on the ball catches the wind and causes the ball, based on the rotation of it, to move. And if you ever watch on TV, sometimes they'll show the pitcher that is behind the pitcher of the ball behind the pitcher, and you'll see the ball actually start curving as it gets to the batter. So you know that the batter has to swing as the ball is moving across the plate, which is kind of difficult, especially that you don't know where it's going. And like I said, you've actually initiated the bat swing before the ball started to curve. So somehow you've made a prediction about where it should be and decided to hit the ball around there. And at the same time, you're able to hit the ball about 3 out of 10 times, or average of 300. So it's amazing what we're able to do in such a few seconds. Likewise, I have a story that I had where I was driving to work one day at one of the hospitals, and I was upset about something that happened at home. I don't know if it was finances, whether me and my wife had a fight, whether I was upset about the kids. I don't know what it was. Well, all I can tell you is that I was not thinking about driving the car. So what I did basically is I focused my eyes on the bumper of the car in front of me because I didn't want that car to stop and for me to hit the car from behind. So I basically focused my eyes on his bumper, and I basically said, okay, I'll get to work somehow, but I'm upset right now, so I want to just kind of focus as best I can. The next thing that happened is my right foot crashed down on the brake as hard as I possibly could. Now, this kind of surprised me because I was looking at the car bumper and the guy's brake lights hadn't come on. So I wasn't sure why I was trying to stop so suddenly. And it was like a panic stop. I was hitting that brake as hard as I could. I just decided to kind of go with it because it didn't look I was in any danger. But the next thing I know, there was a car that passed right in front of me. He was making a left-hand turn from the opposite lane, and he crossed in front of my path to go into the side street. Now, because of the timing, if I hadn't initiated that stop, I would have smashed into his car. As it was, I missed his car by about this much. Somehow my brain had used the peripheral vision to see this car initiating a turn and decided that I needed to stop the car as fast as possible to avoid hitting him. I didn't see the guy until he passed right in front of me. And I can tell you that, you know, um, uh, because of the way I was looking, I would have never seen him. There was a car next to me here. I was here. I think what happened is the guy saw this car, but he couldn't see my car because it was hit by that car. And so he initiated his turn, figured he could get across this guy's path and finish his turn, but he didn't realize there was a car in this lane too. So he made a mistake, and thank God my brain took care of it for him. He would have probably been killed. I would have probably been killed. My brain saved everybody's life that day. So again, I can't tell you why the stop was made because my mind was somewhere else. I was thinking about the car, thinking about what happened at home. It was all over the place, but it wasn't me who stopped that car, I can tell you that. So, any event, think about these things. Try not to think about them too hard. I don't want your brain to explode. But consider what I'm saying about here. You can even try to find the researches that I'm talking about.